you fellow YouTubers, Instagrammers, Facebookers. Your boy, Joshua Hill, back again for another YouTube video. So, a lot of stuff's been going on in the world today. So we have the global pandemic going on one end, the riots and protests happening on the other end. The world, it seems to be just crumbling and falling apart. Let's dive into it. So you have the global pandemic going on right now. So you have people who have been out of their jobs for months at this point and has not been working. You got people who never been on government assistance, who is now on government assistance, who never even think a day in their life that they ever be at that point in their life. Me included, never thought that I would be applying for food stamps or applying for unemployment, but here I am in that situation. So I could definitely relate to millions of Americans in that same situation. And then you have people who really feel like, it's a huge virus and people are feeling as if, we should stay at home, we should isolate ourselves, and be safe and protected. Social distancing should be a thing. And then you have the other people on the other hand who are conspiracy theories or realists or whatever you want to call them, who believe that this is just another government conspiracy to divide the people and keep everyone separate. You have people who believe that it's not as bad as people think that it is. It's not as serious as people think that it is. There's been things out there that has been more deadlier than the coronavirus. The coronavirus, if you do your research and study it, is really not that big of a deal. It's not that bad. People have died from it, which is bad, but yeah. It's a government conspiracy to enforce martial law, to keep people divided, to show how much power they have over the people. So you have two different realities and two different worlds of what people feel like is really going on, which is causing its own different ripples in our social pool, in our communities. And then not only do you have that simple division, you have people who are also just feeling the pressures of what's going on in our time today. And then here recently you have, the whole George case that took place, and so then now you have people not only protesting and rioting about being kept inside their homes and pushing back stay-at-home policy, and now you have people who are out protesting and marching and rioting because they feel as if an innocent black man's life was just taken. As a lot of people will say, hung, they literally killed him in front of national television. And then you have people who are angry, and you have people who've been going through this for a very long time. So then they're tired of seeing it over and over and over again, And then even in that aspect of it, you have a division of people who feel as if it was justifiable. He was doing something wrong and he got called, and it's nothing any different from his situation than any other person's situation. And you have other people who feel as if that it was racially inflicted and that it was something that happened because of the color of his skin. If it was a white person, then that wouldn't have happened. So you have a lot of different opinions about what's going on, which is causing even more of a division amongst people. I would say that honestly, you have this global pandemic that just happened. People are still hurting and trying to figure out themselves from this global pandemic, and they're already mad, they're already upset, they already feel alone and feel like, the government doesn't have their back, or their nation doesn't have so they don't have any support. And then on top of that, you have racial profiling type of things happening, which is just stirring the pot. It's just stirring. I would say for me personally, how do I feel about it? I feel as if it's sad. I do believe in a such thing as racism. I do believe that it's been happening for many, many years. I do believe that black people do get treated differently. For example, I can speak from my own personal journey, that when I can say that I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. If you've ever been to Kansas City, Missouri, you will know that there's not a lot there in Missouri. People call it, nickname is Misery, for a reason. Kansas City School District had lost their accreditation when I was a child. I wasn't being taught how to read. I wasn't being taught how to read the clock. I wasn't being taught the basic necessity things you should be getting taught in a second and third grade level, which was an issue, because there's a lot of kids that's in my same classes that are being taught the exact same thing I am, which is nothing. It was hard growing up, and I am dyslexic, so I have a little bit of a slower learning disability curve when it comes to reading anyway. So that not being catered or even being acknowledged was an issue, to say the least. My mom started dating Caucasian men, white men, when I was about 11 years old. When that happened, my life changed drastically because I started going to more all-white schools. And once that happened, believe it or not, everything educational for me changed. I got put in reading programs, I got diagnosed as being dyslexic, so many different things in my own personal life changed because my environment changed. So people can say that everyone has an equal fighting chance, and that's not necessarily true. Depending on your environment, depending on where you come from, you don't necessarily have the same equal start as other people. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying that is the reality of a situation. For example, my mom never started dating white men for me being a young age and took me out of the environment that I was in because she wanted something better for her children. I don't know the kind of person I would be, but I do know because of those certain situations that did take place, I am who I am now. Being inside of a school district, they had their accreditation, they had after school programs, and then they had all these different things that you can get involved in. The teachers themselves were more patient and more understanding, and they were there, for me when I needed them. Then I was in some schools where I was treated differently because of the color of my skin, and I did have those different aspects of my childhood that were there. But I do believe that it depends on the people you're around and like your family, because, I had a mom that always said that, she deserved better, so we deserve better, and I always kept that in my mind, that there's something better. I always deserve better. There's something better than just this. If I feel like what I'm living is not good enough for whatever reason, there was something inside of me that always pushed me to go to that next level, to see if there was another level and not just settle for where I am now currently, And I do believe that the environment of how African American kids are brought up, as far as, the music they listen to and who they feel like their idols are, do play a big role in how they're brought up and what they think that they are able to do and what they're not able to do. Because I would say, being a child growing up, I felt like the only two options for me to really be successful was either dribbling a ball, something with a ball, something sports related. That was a way out. Or it was being a musician, learning how to sing, learning how to get an instrument involved, and that will be your way out to a more prosperous life, But the biggest mentality that I can remember, growing up, was that the biggest thing was you wanted to get out of wherever you were. Like, you didn't want to stay there. Everyone wanted to do better things, and they wanted nice houses, and they wanted nice communities, and they wanted their kids to have nicer and better things. Like, that was a thing. Like, everyone wanted that. A lot of it was people didn't know how, and people were afraid, because they were afraid that, if they did become successful, or they did become, wealthy, that they will lose their family or lose their friends because they couldn't take them with them for whatever reason. So you have that whole big situation too. So, I just feel like at the end of the day, it's a lot bigger and a lot deeper than people know. And I think if you're not aware of different situations and you don't really open up your horizons to really walk a mile in someone else's shoes, you really won't understand what someone else is coming from or what someone else is going through. And I do believe the biggest issue that we're facing is just understanding the next person and having those tough conversations. And I feel like people get defensive and they get angry and they take things personal, which they should. They have every right to, because you're making a comment about something, not knowing exactly where someone else has come from. It strikes nerves, because then it shows like you're not even being sensitive, or you're not even showing any sympathy to what I'm saying, because I'm not just saying something just to be saying it. I'm saying it because it comes from real life or a real personal experience. And that is something that should be taken into consideration versus just saying that people are just being the way they are just because they're being the way they are, or they're just saying these things just to get attention, when that's not really the case either. I do just feel like people just need to come together and listen to each other and have those tough conversations and really go into that space with an open heart as best as you possibly can, with an open mind as best as you possibly can, and really go into it trying to resolve something versus trying to make things worse. Now we'll speak on the whole aspects of the whole like rioting situation, and the whole protest, and how do I feel about that? I do believe that it's necessary, and people do need to protest. People do need to speak their mind and say how they are feeling and let it be known that this is not okay, because it's not okay, And I do feel like protesting is needed. However, I don't believe that we should be tearing down and blowing up and trashing neighborhoods and cities. I don't think that we should be doing that, period. I don't think that that is something that is healthy. I don't think that really solves anything, because you can be tearing down someone's building. You can be doing this for Black Lives Matter and be tearing down a building that is a Black owner's building, and you don't even know it because you're just angry and you just want to tear down something. And you have the people who are very peaceful who are not doing anything, who are not doing anything but just marching and saying that this is not okay and we deserve better. Everyone deserves better, And you have other people out there who are just stirring the pot and making things worse. And for those people, I really do feel like you should be ashamed of yourselves for that, because you going out there and destroying things doesn't make the situation better. It really make the situation worse, because what message does that give? What message does that send? Is that because of what you're doing, but I'm gonna go and destroy my local neighborhood just because I can destroy them? You wanna take it out on someone. I get it. You're frustrated, you're angry, you wanna take that frustration out on someone, and you want someone to feel your pain. But the sad thing is that most of the times when we're trying to make someone feel the pain that we feel, we end up hurting the ones that's closest to us. We end up hurting the ones that's in our immediate communities, our immediate circle. And that's not fair to them. Like, you're destroying this inner city with people who are already having a hard time as it is, and because you're in that environment, they're having a hard time as it is, and then you make things worse. And then for the people who are not from those areas, but you're going to those areas to protest, and then you are the ones that are rioting on buildings, and you're the ones that is causing more of a commotion for the ones that's in those areas trying to be peaceful. That doesn't help either. Riots may be necessary. I'm not saying that they're not necessary. I do believe that is sometimes necessary to get someone's attention, and I do believe there's only so much a person can take before they get to a point of violence. Even Jesus himself said turn the cheek once. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say continuously get beat up. I do believe there is things that's turning the cheek and not being violent and practicing ahimsa, and doing that. I believe that 122,000%. At the same token, I also believe in standing up for yourself and standing up for what's right. So that is a fair balance. I feel like people need to find in general, within themselves. I'm not saying they need to find it within the world, because the world would never really be balanced if us as individuals aren't balanced. And that is the number one thing. Like, why are you angry? Like, asking yourself these questions, like, why are you angry? Why are you protesting? Like, what is your reasoning behind it? Like, what is your truth? And understanding your truth and not really basing it off of what someone else is saying or what someone else may feel their personal truth is, because you may be getting yourself more angry or more wrapped up in a situation that may not be authentically true to you. But people need to follow what's ever authentic and true for them. And not just go with the crowd and what everybody else is doing, which I do feel like a lot of people are somewhat doing right now. They're just following a trend versus really looking in the mirror and really pinpointing and facing whatever it is that they feel like they need to deal with. I do feel like, like on like a very spiritual side of things, I do feel like everything's happening for a reason, and I do believe that not only the U.S., but I do feel like the world needed to go through something to get people awake and just to pay more attention. Remind people, we are in the middle of a major big election that's going on, so everything that's being transpired that does affect an election. Just because pandemics happen and just because we're once again still fighting about white and black issues, taking our mind off of some of the bigger pictures of some of the things that we've been facing, as a society. People don't want to accept the truth sometimes. I feel like people, even if the truth was right there in their face, I don't feel like people 100% all the time will receive the truth. Like I can be telling someone all day the sky is purple, like the sky looks purple, and they can be like the sky is green. And I'm like, no, the sky is purple. Like, no, the sky is green. At that point, we don't see the same thing. This is number 6, this is number 9. Then it comes to what is the truth about what do you believe is the truth, because at the end of the day, I can have like 6 people behind me that says the sky is purple. And then I have 5 people in front of me that's on his side that's saying the sky is green, so then in that situation, you have more people involved who are also seeing 2 different things. And then which group is right and which group is wrong? It has to take understanding from both sides of the party to be like, okay, you feel like the sky is purple, I feel like the sky is green, let's look at it. Drop the anger, drop the animosity, drop the I'm right, you're wrong, drop the pointing finger game, and just really hear where each other is coming from. Being like, oh, I see a little bit of purple on it. A little bit of green in there. And that's when the conversation can happen, and you can understand the other person's point of view and why the other person felt the way in which they felt. Open-heartedness and communication goes a very, very, very long way. More of a way than people probably ever get credit for. I feel like this is designed to try to bring people together and get people to start having those tough conversations, and for people to really start to see that we are equal, we are one. There's no race that's higher than the other. It really shouldn't be anything like that. We all eat and breathe from this planet, that we have taken sight off of the things that really matter in life. It's not about how much money you make, it's not about what kind of job you have, it's not about any of that stuff. People usually, I feel like, run from their families, and parents, even now, like, we shove a device in a child's face so early in life, that they are already starting to be exposed to things that I feel like they shouldn't be exposed to so early. And that changes things. Kids are growing up a lot faster. Kids are separating from their families, so much earlier because that connection isn't built within their own home. And then you can see that even when this pandemic happens, parents can't deal with their kids are getting angry with their parents, and there's like no peace in the household because they're spending most of their days separate from each other. They're spending most of their days not talking and communicating and not engaging and having those real conversations most of the time. Nowadays, you'll call your mom or your brother or whatever on the phone or send them a text message versus just getting up and talking to them. Like, that's a thing in most modern American households. Like, we have gotten so separated from people in one-on-one connection that it was hard to just be in the house and be in the space with your loved ones. Granted, we do need to go outside. Granted, we need vitamin D. We need the electrolytes from the sun. We need to breathe in that beautiful prana, breathe in that beautiful airflow coming from outside. Being outside is vital. I'm not saying that it isn't, but what I am saying is that because people were not able to, that was a time and opportunity to connect with your family, do some deep shadow work and understanding the ins and outs of oneself. A lot of spiritual teachers that you will see, will say that, oh, it's a great time for shadow work, like getting in tune with, the dark sides of yourself and, you dealing with, your angers and your frustrations and everything like that. Granted, it was a great time for that, but at the same token, you can't tell someone it's a great time for shadow work when they don't even know what shadow work is. You can't tell someone it's a great time to dive deep into yourself when someone doesn't even know how to do that, because they spend so much time running away from their issues that when they did have the opportunity to deal with their issues, they didn't know how. They were still trying to run and find ways to deal with their inner pain, their inner demons. And yes, it's great to work on shadow work, but sometimes doing shadow work can be very emotionally and energetically draining to a person. Doing shadow work can make a person very angry and upset because they're going through their own past and they're finding their own healing and they're understanding where some of their hurts are coming from, and in the aspects of that they do lash out on other people. In the aspects of that they do get depressed and they do get sad because they're processing it and all that stuff is coming up to the surface. Something that was hidden and buried, that was deep within their emotional state, deep in their emotional consciousness, is now coming to the forefront. When that does come to the forefront, you really don't know how a person is going to respond to that. And anyone who is in the spiritual community, who's done Reiki, any type of work on the energetic body, on a person, would know that each person responds to it differently. Some people laugh. Some people experience this very bliss of joy, once they get through that shadow work and they're happy with it. And some people, they cry. They just cry, because that's their way of letting it out. Some people get angry, and people get very, very nasty, and that's their way of dealing with it. So when you have a world of people in one particular moment in time, kind of all hitting a reset button, and we're not all on the same level vibrationally, like in this dimension, everyone's kind of like on a different level in a little bit. It's going to affect people in very different ways. My way of dealing with something is completely very different than the way someone else may deal with it, based off of their own personal experiences, based on how they personally themselves deal with things, based off of how individuals' mind state and mental state is when everything is transpiring. So it's so many different things that should be taken into consideration, that needs to be talked about and needs to be shared, and let people know it's okay to feel how you're feeling. Overall, it's okay to be experiencing everything that you're experiencing. Overall, it is okay to be angry, but what is not okay is to fester in it. What's not okay is to stay there. What's not okay is to allow those emotions to just overall just consume you, to where that's just who you are, and you just can't find a way to get out of it. That's where that conversation needs to start, to help that person get over that hump. The first step is to love yourself. For someone out there who doesn't know how to love themselves, or someone out there who doesn't know how to look themselves in the mirror and see one good quality about themselves, I would ask them, okay, so what are some of the things you feel like you're good at, or you've been told you're good at, things that that brings you joy. Focus on those things. Stop focusing on the things that make you unhappy, that drives you insane. Granted, those things are going to be there. I'm not saying those things are just going to magically disappear, but what I am saying is, if you can, every single day, shift your perspective and your focus onto something else. Once people understand that we are all connected in some type of way, there's an energetic line that connects all of us. Once you tap into that to some degree, whenever you're ready to tap into that, you will see that it's just love, and everything outside of that, it has its own darkness. Overall, we need each other. Basically, everyone needs to realize that we need each other. Even to get past certain barriers or certain groundbreaking things that a lot of people want to see, whether it's stores being back open, or you want to get another stimulus check, or whether you want, whatever it is in the world that you want to see more of or better of. The best way to get there is us coming together as a people, not as whites or blacks or gays or whatever the label you want to categorize someone as or something as. At the end of the day, we're all human, we're all people, we're all equal, and it's our differences that makes this world a better place. It's our differences is the reason why we're able to create so many wonderful and beautiful things, by putting our minds together and realizing that, I may only have part of a plan. I may need someone else in order to make this plan completely work. A connection or help from someone in some type of aspect of your life. No one ever got anywhere completely by themselves 100%. Even I can say that. And I've been known since I was 16 years old. You are the change you want to see in the world. And that's a literal fact. You are the change you want to see in the world. And like I said, I'm speaking from my own personal journey. I'm not speaking from something I don't know. If you know me as a person, or you see me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever over the past at least solid 4 years, I would say, you would notice that I've consistently been a person, it's always we're love, and break down labels and break down separation, and we're all just one person. People think that I'm a very, very pure person, and I'm human. I have my things about me that are not perfect, and that are not pure. At the same token, I acknowledge and I own all of me. It's not anything about myself that I want to run from or anything like that. And I feel like everyone should get to that place eventually. My overall goal, with anything that I do is to let you know that, me and you are one, me and you are equal, and despite your past and whatever you may have gone through, whatever you may have experienced, there's always a brighter day if you choose to see it that way and you choose to change your thought process to make it that way. Would therefore make you feel better, and I honestly feel like this is a time, if you need it, detach, and not be on your phone and not watching the news, because it's one of those things right now that is stirring up a lot of emotions and stirring up a lot of things in people that some people really can't handle and some people should not be constantly looking at. But I love you all, and I hope and pray that you all find love in your hearts and find love in the world, and remember that, we need each other, and that at the end of the day, we're all just people. We all know what love is, we all pretty much know what hate is and what it looks like. I love you, I love you, I love you. Every last one of you across the land. Anyone who's watching this video, I do love you. And Shanae Sane, which is the Buddha in me, reaches out to the Buddha in you to promote spiritual enlightenment and peace. Everyone, I hope you all like this video and like the things that I had to say. Feel free to leave me a comment down below if you would like. Like and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. And you can now follow me on YouTube if you would like. So love and light as always. And I will see you guys in my next video.